What's going on, everybody, and welcome on in to the Garage Beers podcast, episode number 240 here, and it's Thanksgiving week, so happy Thanksgiving week to everybody. Hopefully today was your last day of work, if not tomorrow, and then you get a couple days off, celebrate Thanksgiving with the family, and eat a bunch of food and watch some football and just have a great week. We've got a great show for you here tonight on episode 240. As there's a lot of stuff going on in the world of sports. It's one of the best times of the year when college football gets to the end of the season. We get to rivalry week. We are there. So we're going to talk about college football. We're going to talk about the Browns beating up on the Steelers last week. We'll get into the Cavs and the Blue Jackets and so much more. So we got a great show coming up, and it's all here on the OBR streaming network. Make sure you get over to the OBR on all the socials and get over to the OBR.com, hit follow, hit subscribe. Get to the OBR.com. Make sure you're subscribed. And whether you're watching us here on YouTube or Twitch or wherever you're picking us up, make sure you hit subscribe, hit follow, and tell your friends. If they're not following along with the OBR, they should be. And if they're not following along with Garage Beers, they should be. Follow us online everywhere at the Garage Beers. With you as always, I'm your host, Michael Keefe at Garage Beers Mike. And joining me tonight over on the east side of Cleveland, find him online at Garage Beers Chad. It's Chad Meyer. What's up, Chad?
Today is an absolute terrific day to extend Jameis for another year or two, 2 years preferably, just to be a nice little bridge quarterback. Today's a terrific day to do that. Huh? How about it? Let's do it.
You trying to pick a fight with me?
What?
Are you trying to pick a fight with me from stealing tweets?
No. I'm just saying today. That's an original thought. Today would be
trying to pick a stolen tweets fight. Today
would be a terrific day to do that. Don't you agree?
Are you coming out and just fully admitting that you stole my tweet at this point?
No. God damn it. I'm just trying to start the day on the pod on a sweet note, on a cool note. And you're sandbagging me. You're sandbagging me.
I think this is something we got to have a discussion about.
We don't have to have a discussion about nothing.
I think we got to have a discussion.
Make this a quick one. It's already 9:46.
I think we got to have a discussion. Don't confuse people. What are you talking about? To them, it is 9:02 or whatever it is.
You're eventually going to say somewhere in this pod that we're recording this on Monday. Okay, we're recording this on Monday.
We are recording this on Monday because we are going to get into like college football talk, and we don't officially know, obviously, yet what the playoff rankings are going to be and all of that stuff. But Chad, that time you stole my tweet.
The SEC, by the way.
Do you remember that time you stole my tweet?
Yeah, sure. Yes. Can we move on now?
All right, I was waiting for it. All right.
That's not an admission. That's like wife speak. That's like, okay, you're right. Let's move on now.
No, I'm going to read it. Thursday night, after the Browns beat the Steelers, I tweeted my exact tweet. Thursday night, 12:31 a.m. Friday morning, I guess I should say. I'm not sure how adequately I can express how absolutely good I am with this dude being the Browns quarterback for the next 2 years, in reference to Jameis Winston. Friday morning, later in the morning, Chad Meyer, I'm not sure I have the words to express how very okay I am with Jameis being the starter the next 2 years. It's a stolen tweet, Chad. It's stolen.
Nia Jax is wrestling Bianca Belair right now.
Oh, come on, Chad. Get in the conversation.
What? There's no conversation to be had. We already had this conversation.
No, we didn't have it here.
No. Okay. Yeah.
We need to have it here.
Yeah, it's a similar tweet, but it's not a stolen tweet.
You came up with the exact same wording?
That's the exact same wording? Read that again.
Exact same.
Read that again and tell me where it's word for word your exact same tweet.
I'm not sure how adequately I can express. I have the words to express how absolutely good I am, how very okay I am with Jameis being the starter the next 2 years, with this dude being the Browns quarterback for the next 2 years. It's the exact same tweet. It's the exact same tweet.
Fine. You win. Can we move on, wife? Can we move on, wife?
Did you just read it and say, man, that guy's a wordsmith? I have to take that.
It's not the same words. You're trying to tell me I use the words like adequately and no, I did not.
I'm going to let the people decide this. Put it in the comments.
Okay.
You heard the two tweets. One came approximately 7 hours before the other.
Put it in the comments that we're not going to see.
I'm going to see him. Put it in the comments, and you tell me.
Just so
do I have a gripe here? Do I have a gripe? Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
Just to be clear, even though people aren't going to see this, but if you go to my Facebook page, you'll see that I had the exact same thought in my comments on my Facebook page. Yes, I did.
Your thought in your comments was Jameis should be your starter for the next couple of years, or the rookie we might draft. Watson can go ahead and be the most expensive backup in the history of sports.
Oh, okay. I mean, that's the exact same argument you made. It's not it's the same, but it's not the same.
Differently
I said
worded.
Jameis. Yes, I said Jameis should be your starter for the next couple of years.
Differently worded, Chad. Differently worded.
You're such a dipshit. Can we go?
So I want to start with this because I think it's going to lead to something we do at the end. But I do have to say this before we get into sports and before we get into beer. Chad, I went with the wife, kids, and my mom, and we went and saw the movie Wicked yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It was one of the. You got to go see it in the theater.
Yeah. No, I'm taking Hazel Saturday.
It is explosive, Chad. I'm telling you, man. And I know you kind of grew up singing and stuff like that.
Yeah. I grew up with the arts, if you will.
Get ready for every. I'm just going to tell you this. This is a movie that's so well done, and the music hits in such a way in this movie. It's not like something crazy is going to get you like sad or whatever.
Yeah.
But you're just going to hit every emotion in this movie.
Okay. All right.
There were times where I just was like, had tears coming down my face, and I'm like, I don't even know why I'm doing this.
Yeah.
But like,
just
the music was just hitting and everything. I got to tell you, man, the movie was amazing. The story was amazing. The acting was amazing. If you get a chance to see it in the theaters, you should. But I have a little gripe here.
Okay.
There's this, it's kind of a trend. And now, again, Wicked's old, right? Wicked came out on Broadway 24 years ago or something like that, 21 years ago.
Made me feel real old.
But we keep doing these stories about like villains.
Uh-huh.
And then making them like the sympathetic figures.
Like these prequels.
Like, here's why. Like, oh, the villain is a villain, but like everybody was really bad to them and you feel bad for the villain. And so it's like, okay, I feel like it's detrimental a little bit. Like the Wicked Witch of the West is one of the great movie villains of all time.
Sure.
She was evil, man. She taunted people. She was chucking fireballs.
Sure.
She was making fun of Dorothy crying because she wanted Aunt Em and like whatever. She was a terrible, horrible person.
Right.
The Wicked Witch of the West. And I feel like we do these movies where it's like, well, maybe she was the good person. Maybe she was the good one. And I'm like, no, she was the bad one. Why is it okay to let the villain just be the villain?
Well, sure. I just think it just They're trying to give people a different perspective, right? Because I mean, most villains, I mean, in
this,
real life and in movies, have a backstory. Like, how did they become bad?
yeah, and the story's awesome. The
Yeah.
story's awesome, but it's like I always think of like the Star Wars movies
Sure.
when like they're gonna tell the origin story of Darth Vader, right?
Right.
And Anakin Skywalker was good, and you rooted for him, and he was a cute kid, and then he grew up, and you're rooting for him, but then like he made the decision to become a villain, and he was a villain.
Yeah. Yeah. He
And
was
like
a meanie head.
I'm interested to see if the second part of this, because again, this was only part one of this thing.
Right.
Part two comes out next year, and I never saw the musical.
Oh, really?
But I'm interested to see if part two of this. Yeah, this is all new for me.
Oh,
I know the music, but this is all new for me.
Okay.
I'm interested to see if part two, if there's like a moment where she like actually is bad, or if she's just going to be good the whole way through. Because I think that takes away from it a little bit. All right.
I mean, yeah. I don't want to give anything because I've seen the musical. It's not anything. Well, I don't know. Maybe they'll adapt it differently in the movie. But as far as the musical, the live theater show goes, she's not super bad. But maybe they'll have a different take on it in the movie. We'll see.
Well, like I said,
to see it Saturday. I can't wait.
We're gonna like get into a similar topic at the end of this just for fun at the end of the show. So I just thought I'd bring it up. But again, if you haven't seen it, don't let my gripe take away from the fact that it's stunning. It's an awesome movie. All right. So listen, we're going to get into episode 240. We got a lot of stuff to get to, a lot of sports related talk, but we can't do any of it without starting with our garage beers of the week. And so Chad, why don't you kick things off, buddy? What is your garage beer of the week this week?
Well, my beer, Mike, is from the state that you're headed to for Thanksgiving, down there in Johnson City, Tennessee. This is Yeehaw Brewing.
Yeehaw!
Yeehaw! And it's the Dunkel. Obviously, it's the Dunkel, as you can see right there. This
is Yeehaw Dunkel.
Zund und Dunkel. And you drink this, you'll shout "Yeehaw!" is what you're saying, is what it says,
but in a German accent.
Yeehaw! Yes, yeehaw. But if you do drink this slowly, Mike, you're gonna enjoy notes of cocoa nips, caramel, and biscuits.
Ooh,
so, yeah, it's good. And there it is, right there. It's dark, like you like. Look at that. Look up.
Yeah. Oh,
look
yeah.
Mike, look.
The Dunkel looks nice.
The Dunkel, it's a dark German beer. And yeah, it's very good. Very smooth, very good.
It's very good.
I don't know if I'm saying the yeehaw properly, but yeah, it's a good, nice, very drinkable dark beer.
Yeah. Good. Prost.
Maybe you could just, I don't know. What do you have, Mike? Maybe you head off to your strip malls with your Smirnoff Ices.
With your Zimas and your Smirnoff Ices. Silly American. I got a dark one, too.
Nice.
Look at that bad boy. Look at that bad boy.
Nice.
Look at that gorgeousness. Yeah. Look at the Garage Beers logo. Visible.
Yeah. Maybe
I'm back at Great Lakes, and I got a beer that I feel like maybe it's a new variety of this beer because I think they've come out with this similar before, but man, have they improved upon it. This is Great Lakes Brewing Company's Cookie Exchange Milk Stout.
Oh, nice. Yeah, okay.
And I got to tell you what, man, this thing is a delight. This is treat yourself to our seasonal milk stout brewed with a special rotating cookie-inspired flavor. So obviously it's a rotating flavor. Whatever flavor they used for this one, delightful. It is outrageously good.
Mike, did you see what's Fathead's Christmas beer? It's like sleigh ho sleigh or something, sleigh ride.
Yeah. Well, there's Pimp My Sleigh.
Pimp My Sleigh. That's it. Yeah. That's the one.
That's like the Belgian one.
Yeah. Did you see they're coming out with a barrel-aged version of that?
Geez, that's already a big. They have two, and I can't remember what the other one's name is.
Yeah.
But Pimp My Sleigh is like that Belgian one.
Yeah, you're gonna have to scoop it up because I know that's your thing, man. They're coming out with a barrel-aged one of that. So
I mean, the more I think when I first tasted that, because it's not like the traditional spiced Christmas ale that I like.
Yeah.
It's more of that like Belgian style, that like Belgian double or triple style.
Sure.
I was like, I don't think this is my favorite, but the more I've had it, the more I really like it. Like that's a good beer.
All right.
I might have to check that out. So anyways, those are our garage beers of the week. Get in the comments and let us know. Again, we're pre-recorded on this, but still put it in the comments because who gives a shit? Tell each other what your garage beers of the week are. And now let's get into episode 240. of the Garage Beers podcast. And Chad, I think it's only fitting that we start in college football land.
Yeah, 100%, man. Let's go.
We're at one of the great times of any season of any sport.
Yeah.
And I think it's only going to be the best version of it we've ever experienced.
Right.
In major Division I college football. We are officially at rivalry week. We are officially at next week being conference championship week. And then we are officially at the 12-team playoff. And I got to tell you what, I'm interested to see what they do, but this thing is playing out amazingly.
Beautifully. Yeah.
It is playing out amazingly. There's going to be some teams that get in that you're a little mad that they got in. There's going to be some teams that are out that you might be a little surprised that get left out. But as things have gone so far, it's exactly what you want, though. You're arguing about who should be 10, 11, and 12 as opposed to 4.
Right.
And that is the point.
And that's the thing. And that's the whole, like you said, that's the whole point. The argument between 10, 11, 12, and 13, 14, 15 isn't that wide of a margin, right? You're nitpicking when it comes to that. But when it was 4, you can make valid arguments for 5, 6, and 7. But 13, 14, 15, that argument is not very wide. So it's the top 12 teams are going to be the top 12 teams, and it's going to be the most deservedly top 12 teams.
Heck yeah. So remember the way this is going to work, the top 4 seeds are going to get a bye. And then the next top 4 seeds, so that middle 4 seeds are going to host playoff games. I cannot wait for that.
I know.
I can't wait for that.
I know.
The fact that some of these places are going to be like right now, like maybe somebody like Notre Dame is going to be hosting a playoff game in South Bend, Indiana at Notre Dame Stadium. It's going to be amazing to watch. Georgia or Tennessee or even Indiana, those teams might be hosting playoff games. Right. It's unbelievable.
Ohio State might be, depending on what happens in the Big Ten Championship.
What'd you say? Well, Ohio State, that's true.
Yeah.
And depending on how they treat what happens after that game. But let's look backwards a little bit, Chad, because we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. Let's talk about a top 5 matchup that went down in Columbus, Ohio State against Indiana. And I got to tell you, Chad, this reminded me a lot of a game that the game that you and I most recently broadcast for high school football when we called that Highland versus Anthony Wayne game.
Sure.
When Indiana came out looking good, Ohio State came out looking terrible. Not that Highland did that in that game. I shouldn't discredit the Hornets. But it looked like we were going to have a game, and it looked like Indiana came to play. And then all of a sudden, man, in that game, Ohio State just said, hey, wait a minute. We're Ohio State and you're Indiana. And Ohio State just dominated the Indiana Hoosiers, just absolutely dominated them for the rest of the game. Offensively, defensively, special teams. Holy hell. They absolutely laid the wood to an Indiana team. And I think just as fun. And I love Signetti. I love the coach. But I think Coach Signetti needed a little kick in the teeth after all the talking he was doing. Well, he got that first kick in the teeth as the head coach of the Indiana Hoosiers. And Chad, Ohio State look ready, man. They look ready.
It's funny. Defensively, they did something so simple that they don't normally do. And it's a common thing that most teams do, Mike. But Ohio State just seems to not do it a lot. They made one simple adjustment. They blitzed.
Yes.
They blitzed, Mike.
Yes.
They blitzed, and they got to Curtis Rourke. I think it was 7 times, 8 times, something like that. And Indiana was just could not recover. They just didn't. Right? Ohio State adjusted, and it was a thing of beauty to see. Now, offensively, like I said, remember when we were previewing it, I said Ohio State, for whatever reason, offensively needs like a quarter to get going.
Yes.
And I don't know what the hell that 4th and inches play, that 4th and goal play was from the one. I'll never understand teams in general. I'll never understand teams doing a goal line fade or 4th and inches and not being under center. I'll never understand that. But they recovered nicely. And Will Howard, man, oh man, some of the throws that he made in that game were quite impressive. It was one of the better Will Howard games I've seen this year. And yeah, they just completely dominated in the second half. Yeah, Indiana, you kind of had a feeling it was going to be that because Indiana was going to come out motivated. Indiana is a team that had nothing to lose, right? Like you said last week, new kid on the block. They were going to come out fired up. But, man, the more talented team took over, and Ohio State just ran roughshot the rest of the game, from the second quarter on.
Again, Indiana scored on their opening drive immediately, 7-0, like nothing. And then they stop Ohio State on that goal line stand, and you think, oh boy, here we go. And actually, I can't even remember what I was doing at the time. I don't remember what I was doing Saturday, but I was texting with you, and I saw like Ohio State was knocking on the door. It was like whatever, first, second, and goal, and they were down at the 1 yard line. And I thought, okay, touchdown, tie ball game. And then I went like into a store or something and did something. When I came back out, it was still 7-0 Indiana. What the hell happened?
Yeah.
But the Ohio State Buckeyes score 31 unanswered points.
Yep.
In the second quarter, they score 14. In the third quarter, they score 14. And then they scored the first 3 points of the fourth quarter, 31 unanswered points. And Indiana just didn't know what hit them. They just didn't know what hit them.
No. They could not recover. I mean, Curtis Rourke was shook from the pressure he was getting. He was getting happy feet. He was letting the football go too early. He just couldn't make a decision. Yeah, I mean, that Ohio State defense got in his head from the first time he was sacked till the end of the game. And it was, he felt it. You could tell he felt it. You know, you were wondering all year if Indiana was going to have sort of a comeback to earth moment. And certainly from like the mid-second quarter on, they came back to earth. They still weren't a pushover. I got to give them credit. You got to give Indiana credit. I don't think they looked like a team that didn't deserve to be ranked, but definitely was curious to whether they were going to live up to the top 5 ranking that they had going into that game. And I don't think they did. I don't think they were quite ready for it. But still, I mean, it's again 10-1 is a nice record. They're going to be 11-1. They're probably going to be in the playoffs. So this is still an unprecedented season for Indiana. It was just they finally met their match and finally had a measuring stick game to see how they were going to match up against the big boys. And for about a quarter, they did, but no, it's you could still tell they got a long way to go.
Dude, you keep talking about the pressure that Ohio State put on Rourke. How did that affect him? 8 of 18 for 68 yards. That was his score. That was the line for Curtis Rourke in that game, man. Ohio State just he probably hasn't slept this week seeing Ohio State in his nightmares. Yeah. And listen, we talked about it last week. And you don't want to like take away from a team like Indiana that's having the kind of season that they're having, because it's cool for them that they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
But I do think it's fair. The conversation of they had a cakewalk non-conference schedule. Yeah. And then the conference schedule was they haven't played anybody in the conference yet. They played the teams that they were supposed to win, and the teams that they did play that you thought might have been good. Like, remember we were all talking about Nebraska was going to be good this year. Nebraska stinks. The teams that they played stink. Yeah. And Ohio State's the first team on that schedule that was like, all right, here's your test.
Right.
Here's the test. And I think Indiana's had an awesome season, but man, I don't know. With the strength of schedule and with the one team that they could have at least, even if Indiana would have lost by like 4 or 3 or even a touchdown, but a close game, hard fought right till the end, and they had a chance until the end, I guess I'd have a different tone. But I'll tell you what, Indiana looked exactly like what all the doubters have said about Indiana, which was they played a really soft cupcake schedule. They're a good team, but they've played a soft cupcake schedule. And after I watched that, I was like, how do you put them? I mean, I know they're going to win 11 games, but we're putting this team in the playoff.
They are who we thought they were.
Yeah. There's a little Dennis Allen about it.
I think it was, I think the whole reason that there was so much hubbub about this Indiana team, and it is the way they beat that cupcake schedule, right? I think if they were winning,
dominant.
I think if they were winning these games 31-24, right, 27-24, or if these were closer games, I think the conversation would have been completely different. And I don't think Indiana is even sniffs a top, 10 ranking, let alone top 5 ranking. But because of the way they dominated that soft cupcake schedule, I think that's why the conversation and the ranking happened going into this. And yeah, it was a prove yourself game. It was a prove it game. And yeah, like for a quarter they did. Again, like I said, beating the dead horse here, but for a quarter they did. But those last 3 quarters they showed their ass, Mike. They showed who they were.
Full ass on screen.
Yeah. So Kurt Signetti, hey, you're going to need to get more than JMU transfers in Indiana to really put yourself over the top. Okay, pal?
So let's talk about where the Big Ten is going to wind up, because I do think you talked about the SEC earlier, and we'll get to that. But let's talk about where the Big Ten is going to end up, because you're going to end up with, at the end of the regular season, before the conference championship, you're going to end up with a 12-0 Oregon team, unless Washington does something crazy in that game, which they shouldn't, because Washington's not great.
Right.
You're going to wind up with, again, Indiana is playing who? Purdue this week?
Yeah, Purdue.
They're going to smash Purdue. So It's going to be an 11-1 Indiana team. Penn State has Maryland, I think. So Penn State's going to be 11-1.
Right.
And listen, after the last few years, I'm not about to get ahead of myself. So we're going to preview this game in a minute, but I'm not going to get ahead of myself on Ohio State and that team up north. But right now, there's no reason whatsoever to think Ohio State isn't going to take care of business against a Wolverine team that is not great this year.
Right.
And so you're talking about potentially at the end of this week, all those teams you're going to have a 12-0 team and 3 other 11-1 teams.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, that's outrageous at the top of the division.
It's crazy.
I'm sorry, at the top of the conference.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
It's
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting to see how it all shakes out. That's for sure. But it's I don't know. I don't know. Is it weird to say I don't know what to make of Penn State at 11-1?
Nobody knows what to make of Penn State.
Yeah,
to me, Penn State's a little bit like Indiana. I think they're a better version of Indiana, but like kind of similar to them, right?
Right, but they're not so far head and shoulders above Indiana.
Not so far. They've played a little bit of a tougher schedule than Indiana and come out only 1 loss to Ohio State. But I don't think Penn State's. All right, let's have this discussion now.
They don't cut the mustard.
Let's have this discussion now.
Sure.
I think the top of the Big Ten deserves a ton of credit for what they've done.
Yeah.
But I don't know that. I think the top 2 teams in the Big Ten are national championship contenders. Oregon, Ohio State.
Yeah.
Those 2 teams could go win a national championship.
Right.
I don't think Penn State or Indiana have a snowball's chance in hell.
Yeah. No, they don't have the chance
winning a championship.
Yeah. But again, you never know.
I mean,
they're going to be in the playoff. Well, at least Penn State's going to be in the playoff. So anything can happen. Anything can happen.
So then that's going to be one of the interesting parts about how the playoff committee handles what they're going to handle. Because let's assume right now I'm looking at playoff projections, because again, we're doing this on Monday. And so we haven't seen them. If you're watching this on Tuesday, we haven't seen them. But let's assume these projections are correct. And let's assume Oregon's going to be number 1.
Right.
Week. Ohio State's going to be number 2, Penn State number 4, and Indiana number 9 in the playoff projections.
Yeah.
It's going to be really interesting to see. Let's take that Indiana team for a minute, because I think Penn State, if they're at number 4 and then they beat Maryland, even though they're not going to play for a conference championship, they're not going to fall out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
With that. But Indiana, when they don't play a conference championship game, are they going to fall out of the playoffs? Are they going to put an Indiana team? Are they putting 4 Big Ten teams in the playoff? I don't know, man. I don't know. I think Indiana's in big trouble when it comes to the playoff. I don't know whether you agree or not, whether you think that's fair or not. I think Indiana's in big trouble.
Yeah, sure. I mean, when you take everything into account, yeah, I think they're in trouble. But I think it also depends on who all the conference championship games shake out to be. Because I mean, like what? So A&M's going to get their dicks kicked in by Texas.
Nah, Texas is going down.
Wait, what?
You heard me. I said Texas is going down. We're going to talk about it.
Yeah, and then what else? You look at the Big 12. The Big 12 is, listen, for as fun, for as dominant and as the Big 10 and the SEC are, the Big 12 is probably the Big 12 is probably the most fun conference in college football, in my eyes. Just because I'd say before, I love chaos, right? I love chaos, and that conference is so chaotic.
You know what it is? It's like the JV team of like a really good conference.
Yeah.
So the JV teams are all really good. Like they're good teams.
Yeah.
And you look out there and you're like, wow, these kids can play on this JV level of like St. Ed's or something like that. But in the end, these teams are going to come up against some of these big boys, and it's going to be like, oh, bye.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. And that's, I guess my whole point is because the Power 5 conference champions are supposed to get into the playoff, but it all depends to me on who's playing in those games, because if they're already guaranteed a playoff spot, Indiana might be okay. But it all depends on who plays in those games. So yeah.
Well, and the other thing that you're going to combat is, you know that this committee is going to figure out a way to get Alabama in this thing.
I hate it, and I know.
No matter what.
I had this conversation Saturday, and I know, and I hate it so much because they do not deserve this. If there was ever a year that Alabama does not deserve to get into the playoff, it is this year.
Yeah, and they're losing to, they're losing to goodish teams, but their losses aren't, it's not like they're losing to like the top 2 or 3. Like that's what you've seen with Alabama the past couple of years, is like a loss or two, but it's come to like Georgia, who's number 1, and you're like, all right, well, I get that,
right?
But like they're losing all the teams, basically all the teams. They lost to Vanderbilt first of all, and then they lost to Georgia, or no? Did they beat? I can't remember.
They beat Georgia, but that was like an incredible like back and forth game.
They lost to Vandy. Who were their losses? Vandy and I think Ole Miss.
They got their dicks kicked in by Oklahoma.
And Oklahoma. Oh, that was this week.
But a down Oklahoma team. That's not like
that loss right there should have ended the conversation for Alabama. And yet the projection for Alabama has them at that 12 seed, which means they wouldn't make it into the bracket. But like, it has them there. And I'm like, what? How? Why?
Come on, Auburn. Like, get your shit together. Come on, Auburn.
Yeah, I think right now the projection is Oregon with a bye, Boise State with a bye, Texas with a bye, and Miami with a bye. Those are the byes. So you would have, right now the projection is Georgia hosting Tennessee, just another SEC game.
Right.
Ohio State hosting Arizona State. By the way, I hated that. I think it's fun. I think it's great. But when like the 21 seed in the country beats the 14 seed in the country, do we really have to be storming the field?
No.
You're the 21 seed in the country. Why are you doing that?
And you're beating a similarly ranked team. Yeah,
right. I didn't like it. Notre Dame would be hosting Indiana. That's kind of fun.
That's kind of fun. Yeah.
In-state. And then Penn State would host SMU. That would be that's based on this what the bracket could look like. And
SMU could be
that SMU team is dangerous. That game would be fun.
Beat Penn State.
they could. I don't know if they'd be ready for the atmosphere at Penn State.
But
it'd be a whole new ball game for SMU. But
right.
I don't know, man.
And they lost to Tennessee. Yeah, but and Bama lost to Tennessee. They're not playing in the conference championship. That has to factor in. You
would hope, but. And Nick Saban's not there anymore. So I don't know, maybe. But let's talk about this rivalry week real quick before we move off of college football.
Sure.
So Chad, let's talk about the game.
Yeah.
Ohio State, Michigan. a game that Michigan has dominated the last 3 years, a game that Ohio State has just blundered over and over and over again. And to be real honest with you, Chad, a game that Ryan Day has blundered over and over and over again the last 3 years, a game in which they have come in looking unprepared and have really let Michigan push them around one and run the football down their throats. Just 3 years in a row of Michigan just running the football down Ohio State's throats.
Yeah.
It's what Michigan's going to try to do again this year because they can't pass the ball. Like, they do not have a passing offense.
Right.
And so if you can get Michigan passing the ball, you're going to win this game by 30 points.
Right.
Michigan doesn't want to do that. They want to run the ball down your throat again, like they did this week. I mean, little bit of a statement game for Michigan. I know it was just Northwestern. What was it, 50-6?
I don't know. Something
beat Northwestern. I think they ran for like 300 yards or something like that in the game. Like, they made a statement in that game. Ohio State better come ready to play in this. Like, I want to be real confident. I want to say Ohio State is supremely talented. They are the much better team. All of that applies. It does apply. But they better be ready to play. They better be ready to come out and say, you are not going to run. If you're going to beat us throwing the ball, all right, we're going to figure it out. But you are not coming out and running the ball like that on us this year. That has to be the philosophy this year.
There's a couple of things that I'm more encouraged by this year than I have been in years past over the last 3 years. The aggression by Ryan Day is so much more apparent this year. And hopefully that carries over into this Michigan game. How about that conversion? But speaking of which, going back to the Indiana game for a second, how about that conversion? 3rd and 35. They get 25, and then he goes for it on 4th and 10, even though he's in field goal range, and they convert that. Like,
yeah, that's
the aggression that I'm talking about with Ryan Day this year.
And it shows confidence in your players.
It shows confidence in your players. Another thing I'm encouraged by, Will Howard clearly gets it. Have you seen his? He clearly gets it, as opposed to quarterback. I'm not saying he's going to perform like quarterbacks of OSU in the days of Yorn of the Buckeyes when we were dominating Michigan. But he clearly gets it. I think it's a different attitude this year. But that being said, supposedly there have been different attitudes the last couple of years, and that hasn't really gone the Buckeyes' way. Oh, another thing, James Laurinaitis being linebackers coach, right? Yep. There's guys there this year that just get it, right? So I want to say I feel like there's going to be this is going to be a different Ohio State team against Michigan. But that being said, you still have to come ready to play and be physical at the line of scrimmage, because Michigan has beaten the dick off of you at the line of scrimmage over the last 3 years. So if they can do that, if they can do something, if they can do that, be aggressive at the line of scrimmage and stop the run, they win this football game easily. They win it going away.
Well, listen, go to Will Howard for a minute, because I've been lukewarm on Will Howard this season.
Yeah.
I think Will Howard has been, I mean, look at his numbers. He's completing 75% of his passes, 2,600 plus yards,
right,
20 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. And that doesn't even take into account the plays that he makes with his feet. I just think there have been times where Will Howard was supposed to look like the veteran kid coming from another program that understood how to handle certain situations. And there have been times this season, I mean, I think everybody will point to that Oregon game where he ran the ball and slid with no time left like an idiot. But there's been a couple other times this season where it's been like, you're supposed to be the guy that it's not so much performs better than this, but makes better decisions than what you are making out here.
Right.
And I'm not talking about like turnovers or whatever, but just making that winning play. And so it's going to be a great test for Will Howard. He's put up gaudy numbers. It's the numbers. I mean, you get a quarterback completing 75% of his passes. That is gaudy stuff.
Right.
But this is going to be his opportunity to come out and kind of make that imprint on Ohio State football. And I'm going to compare him a little bit to JT Barrett, because JT Barrett was a guy I couldn't stand. JT Barrett.
Yeah, same here.
I didn't like I didn't like really watching him. I didn't understand the fuss about him. It was clear that he couldn't really throw the ball very well. It was clear that he didn't have that like next level talent. But you know what JT Barrett did was when the moment was big and when you needed a play, JT Barrett would make you a play.
Yeah.
And I think this is Will Howard's chance to kind of put himself in that JT Barrett category of like, hey, you're going out there against Michigan. It's a really good Michigan defense. Let's not get it twisted. This is still a Michigan defense that can play some football. It's not a good Michigan offense, but it's a defense that can keep them in games. This is your opportunity to go out as the quarterback of Ohio State and kind of put yourself in amongst those other quarterbacks as, I don't want to say a legend. I don't want to say Will Howard's going to make himself a legend for Ohio State, but kind of put yourself in that category of like, yeah, Will Howard was a Buckeye. Like
Sure.
that level of quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I think Will Howard's a better passer than JT Barrett is. But yeah, as far as winning plays goes, yeah, I don't think he makes enough of them.
That's what JT Barrett was all about. Like, you've got to give him credit for that.
Sure.
He I don't think he was as gifted as so many other players, but man, JT Barrett made winning plays when it came down to it.
Yeah. So it's a chance for Will Howard to put his stamp on it. And yeah, we'll see. He certainly exudes the confidence of one. So yeah, it's put up or shut up time, Will.
So, prediction: Ohio State, Michigan, in Columbus again. Does Ohio State break this 3-game losing streak to that team up north?
Ohio State 31, TTUN 16.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking like a similar score
to
what we saw in the Indiana game.
Yeah. Yep. I think that's about right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it could legitimately be like 38-15-16 again. I think it could be like that same kind of score. But I could also see, I will say this. I don't know. I'm going to kind of go with your score. That's what I was thinking too. Like a 2-score game, but like a big 2-score, right? Like they win by 16, something like that.
Right.
But I could also see like, and we'll see if they come out and play with their hair on fire like they should, because of what's happened recently. I could see Ryan Day in Ohio State putting it on Michigan.
Oh, for sure.
Like forget you. We're not going to be friends. We're going to run up the score and see what happens. So I can see them trying to do that, but I do think Michigan's good enough defensively to keep this game at least to the point where you're biting your nails a little bit if you're an Ohio State fan. But I do think the Buckeyes are going to go away with a 2-score win.
Order will be restored this year, one way or the other.
That's right. So let's talk about some of these other games on rivalry week, and let's start with let's see, which one do we want to start with? How about two teams that I wasn't sure we were going to care about, but this game matters big time in the scope of what's going to happen over the next couple of weeks. How about that South Carolina rivalry? The number 17 team in the country, Clemson, against the number 18 team in the country, South Carolina. A renewed, ever since South Carolina took down my Texas A&M Aggies, man, they have played really well to end this season out. But Clemson too, like Dabo's got his boys playing well for the Tigers down there. That's a big game down there in South Carolina.
Yep, Battle of the Palmetto State. Let's go. I just remember, I never forget this. This guy I used to work with, Chris Lee, Esquire. Apparently, he has an Esquire because you do that in the South.
Well, just like Bill S. Preston.
Yeah, Bill S.
Theodore
Preston,
Logan.
Esquire. And we are wild stallions. Yeah. Dabo has Clemson playing well. Almost lost to Pitt 2 weeks ago, and Pitt lost that game themselves. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting, because South Carolina. I mean, Clemson is Clemson, right? You'll feel like they're always going to be that team that, you know what? Like, yes, they haven't really been in the conversation, but they're always kind of a team that just hangs around.
They linger. They hold on.
Yeah, they do. They linger. It just seems like a team that just won't go away. And then you have an up-and-coming South Carolina team now. Shane Beamer has done a great job of recruiting down there. Got a ton of talent. I forget the guy's name, the receiver's name, but he's a stud. This is an intriguing ball game, man. There's a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, I think that, and the implications are big again. I mean, I don't know that South Carolina could get to the playoffs, being a 3-loss team that are going to, they'd have to like leapfrog Alabama and such. But Clemson could. I think
Yeah,
Clemson, South Carolina, you could see a pathway to Clemson to getting one of those last spots. So it's a huge game there.
yeah, for sure. For sure.
Um,
Elimination game. It's an elimination game this week, basically.
I think there's a couple big, I think some of the fun rivalry games are the ones where a team is supposed to dominate, but they're going up against one of those teams where it's like, ooh, are they going to? Like Notre Dame USC has me, it's not a great USC team by any stretch.
Yeah.
That game has me a little bit intrigued as far as, Notre Dame and USC is always a battle. Even here in the Big Ten, Oregon and Washington, it's not been a good year for Washington.
Right.
But we've seen how many times Washington has been able to spoil things for the Oregon Ducks over the years. And so I think there's a couple games, and maybe even to a lesser extent, because it's not really a rivalry game, but that Penn State Maryland game, I think there's a couple of these games where your team is going to be heavily favored, but your butt's going to be puckered for a minute. You're going to have a solid butt puckering.
Yeah,
as you wait to see if your team can actually go out and win that rivalry game. That's the point of this weekend, right?
Yeah, 1,000%. I mean, there's going to be even the Iron Bowl. How can you? I mean,
yeah, and Alabama shit.
Yeah,
or I'm sorry, Auburn. The way they look.
How are you going to overlook that game as well? I mean, you can't with the way the things have been going this year. Auburn just had a great win, an incredible win. A stupendous win.
It was a great win, man. Did you watch that game, by the way?
I watched a good portion of it. I didn't see all of it. I watched a good portion of it.
Four overtimes. And A&M loses it when their wide receiver is wide open in the end zone and drops the ball.
Yep. How'd you feel about that? Where were you at with that?
Do you want to know what my honest opinion is?
Yeah.
It's a very standard Texas A&M loss.
Yeah.
Like there's been times where Texas A&M has been able to kind of insert themselves into the conversation.
Yeah.
Like they did this year.
Yeah.
They were a top 10 team.
Yeah. Yeah.
And man, then they just always find a way to just shit down their leg in one or two games. And it's like, well, it's just what we do.
Right.
It's what we do.
Right. Yeah.
But I will say this.
Huh? Bullshit.
I will say this. And I wanted to end the college football conversation with this. One of the great rivalries in college football is renewed this Saturday. And that is Texas versus Texas A&M. They have not played one time since Texas A&M left the Big 12 for the SEC. That was a whole petty bullshit thing where Texas was mad at A&M and they couldn't schedule them anymore. And A&M, they laughed at them and said they weren't going to be able to compete in the SEC, and they competed right off the bat in the SEC. And they've always been kind of a top half SEC team for the most part since they've been there. And then eventually Texas and Oklahoma move on. But A&M and Texas have not played since A&M left for the SEC. And that this weekend is going to be the first time that happens. It is going to be a wild day at Kyle Field. It's going to be a night game in College Station. And I'm going to tell you what, those Aggie fans are that you have to tune in and at least just watch the beginning of that game. It'll probably be the loudest. That stadium has a reputation for being loud, and I can vouch for it because I went to a lot of games there. This might be the loudest game in the history of that stadium. That place is going to be explosive to start.
Yeah. Oh, I'll be glued. I'll be glued like I am every Saturday to college football. So yeah, I can't wait to watch. I'll probably have all 4 TVs in my house with a different game on.
I tell people ask that all the time, and I'm like, imagine Ohio State and Michigan just didn't play for like 10 years.
Yeah.
Imagine that, right? Imagine how weird that would be.
Yeah.
And then imagine what that first game back would be like if they played again.
Right.
It's going to be, it's a powder keg down there at Kyle Field. I can't wait. I'm like getting jittery just thinking about it. It's going to be incredible. So
yeah.
Rivalry week is here, and we're going to have a lot of answers after this weekend, which is going to be pretty exciting. But all right, Chad, let's move off of college football.
Okay.
And why don't we just we've kind of keep pushing off the asshole of the week until like later on in the show. And so let's get it in right here. let's go to one of our favorite segments every week, a segment where we call people out for just being assholes, just people that have been assholes. And let's do our asshole of the week. And I'm going to start because I can't wait. My asshole of the week. My asshole of the week is anybody that plays for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Come
assholes.
on. Come on.
Assholes. TJ Watt. TJ Watt, where were you, buddy?
Yeah, where were you?
Where did you go? Yeah. Where did you not come to the game in Cleveland?
Right.
I know I'm talking trash and they're going to play again in 2 weeks and things are going to go very differently. I want to point that
They're going to go so differently.
Oh, they're going to go very differently. But right now, I get to gloat. TJ Watt, did you even play? I know you played. Do you know why I know TJ Watt played in this game, Chad? Do you know why I know?
Because I saw him out there.
Because of the highlight of Wyatt Teller, hitting like the ejector button on TJ Watt and throwing him like 10 yards back.
Yeah, right.
On the play that Jameis Winston scored the rushing touchdown in that snow game. I love that TJ just didn't show up in the game after all his whining and bitching about Myles Garrett winning the Defensive Player of the Year, and then Myles 3 sacks in the game. How about George Pickens?
Stop right there. Mine's George Pickens.
All right, go ahead.
Mine is George Pickens. George Pickens is a whiny bitch. He's a whiny little bitch. Every time, and this isn't just in the Browns game. This isn't just in this game. Every time something doesn't go his way, he kicks, he screams, he has a fucking tantrum on the sidelines.
I can still see him sitting on the field over in front of the Steelers sideline, slamming his hands and like kicking his feet on the ground. I'm like, this looks like my daughter when I tell her she can't have her 47th applesauce.
Yeah,
what are we doing?
He is a bitch. Right? Everybody yelled at Grant Delpit, right? For smacking George Pickens in the helmet, right? And yes, it was a stupid play by Delpit. It was a stupid play by Delpit, and it cost the Browns. Allowed the Steelers to score a touchdown. But then Delpit posts the clip today of Pickens tripping him. But before that, which makes him a bitch. He's just a bitch, right? It doesn't make what Delpit did okay. Right, Delpit should not have reacted that way, but that doesn't make Pickens any less of a bitch because he did trip Delpit. He's a bitch.
Oh God, the way you're emphasizing the B has got me going, man. I'm ready.
Yeah,
I'm ready. Bitch.
He's a bitch.
God, it sounds really good.
Bitch.
I just want you to know. I don't know how good it sounds on the porch out there, but it sounds really good coming across. Say it one more time.
Good. I like it. Echoes, right? It's just going out into the ether here in my backyard to all my neighbors.
Say it one more time. Say it one more time.
George Pickens is a bitch.
All right. Those are our assholes of the week, and they're both Pittsburgh Steelers, and I love it. Tell us who your assholes are. Again, this is a recorded episode, but go ahead and put them in the comments anyways. Share with each other who should be called out as being an asshole this week. And that's the point. Let's get this out. Let's get it out. All right. Let's stay on theme, Chad. Let's talk about the Cleveland Browns.
I guess honorary assholes the OHSAA, but yeah, all right.
Why? Just like the locations of the games.
Because they did Avon and Glenville real dirty as far from a neutral site standpoint.
Agreed.
But anyway.
Although I will say, playing a game, Avon and Hoban are going to play at Infocision Stadium, University of Akron. It's a great place to play. The kids at Avon should be jazzed up about it.
It's a tremendous stadium.
It's great.
But Hoban could walk there.
Yeah, well, yes, correct. Let's stay on the Cleveland Browns because we have not talked since the Cleveland Browns and the Pittsburgh Steelers faced off on Thursday Night Football in a very fun game.
Oh, God, yeah.
A game that started, nobody picked the Browns. Nobody should have picked the Browns.
Right.
I think a lot of us I picked the Browns to lose in a one-score game because Pittsburgh plays one-score games, and they usually win them.
Right.
So nobody picked the Browns. It was an upset. The Pittsburgh Steelers came in number 1 in the division. And, man, the Browns love those Thursday Night Football home games. They are so good at them. And they came out with an energy, and they came out with something. And I got to tell you, I think a lot of it stems from seeing Nick Chubb hit the end zone again.
Sure.
Like, he scored that first touchdown, and I feel like there was a noticeable change in the demeanor of the whole team.
Yeah.
It was like things are right again. Nick Chubb has found the end zone. Things are right again. And
you have a leader at quarterback.
Yeah, and Jameis was really good at certain points, and he was kind of waffly at other points. But like, man, when you needed him, when you needed Jameis, man, did he come through? Man, did he come through?
Yeah, he sure did.
Jameis came through, and Nick Chubb came through. Myles Garrett with 3 sacks. That first half for Myles Garrett was unbelievable. It was awesome to watch. And I think the defensive secondary came through. I mean, there were some plays here or there, and they got to get out of these goddamn zones. I don't know why Jim Schwartz keeps putting them in these goddamn zones where they just keep blowing coverages. But the Cleveland Browns came out. It felt a little different. It felt a little different than maybe it did feel kind of similar to that Ravens win, but it's like there was a purpose to them again. Chad, this whole season has felt listless. It's felt like there's not been a purpose. It's felt like they're just out there going through the motions and just hoping they make some plays here or there. But whether it was the guys that I listed or whether it was again, we talked about the offensive line played really well in this game. How about Ifedi at left tackle? I think was really good in this game. How about Wyatt Teller again? How about Jerry Jeudy? Jesus Christ, Jerry Jeudy and Elijah Moore, and like these guys just it's like they came out and played with a purpose, and they came out and they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it again, none of this matters for this year. The Browns could win out the rest of their games this year. They're going to finish 9-8, and they're not going to make the playoffs.
Right.
That's if they won out, which they're not going to do. But it's this kind of stuff as a Browns fan, right, Chad, that you got to be looking at, like, we're looking for stuff like this. I don't care that we don't get the number 1 draft pick. We don't need that at this point. That's not where the roster is.
Nope.
I'm looking for them to show this. Exactly what they showed against the Pittsburgh Steelers on Thursday night.
And I think, and I know this is bad, but this I hate to bring them up, but it's the stain of number 4. It's the stain of number 4. It is. And this is why you cannot bring him out there next year, roll him out there next year.
He can never play another game for this team.
Ever since he's gone, right? Like, I know the Saints was what they laid an egg against the Saints, but you know what? They bounced back because in losses this year or before, when 4 was still playing, they would not bounce back. They still saw, like you said, they still seemed like the same listless, just no energy. They felt like they didn't even want to be out there. They didn't even want to get off the bus, off the plane. But it is just a renewed energy. There is a clear difference between a Watson-led Browns team and a Flacco-led Browns team last year, and a Watson-led Browns team and a Winston-led Browns team. There is a clear difference. Well, and Mike, I swear to God, if they roll 4 back out there next year,
they can't.
Mike, if they roll, I will actively root for them to lose games.
I think I will too. I think I you know what? I think that's fair. I'll never root for the Browns to lose ever. Not the Browns. But I will never root for 4 ever again.
No.
I will hope he actively tanks games for the team so that he couldn't have made it any more clear than what he did this year.
Yeah. And that's
but
why
if they roll him out next year, I will 100% actively root for them. For him to fail.
No, I'm actively going to root because that's the reason why I'm actively going to root for the Browns to lose games next year. Because at that point, because if the organization decides to roll 4 back out there, they deserve it. Because because you talk about business decisions all the time. Like, I don't care how much money he's making, Mike. Somebody other than Watson, number 4 at quarterback next year, doesn't make business sense. It does not make it at all.
I guess what I'm saying, Chad, is I'm never going to root for Myles Garrett to lose a football game. I'm never going to root for Nick Chubb to lose a football game, or David Njoku, or hopefully we see JOK again, because we still have no idea what's going on with JOK.
Right, sure.
Or Denzel Ward or Grant Delpit. I'm not rooting for those guys to lose football games. I'm going to actively root for Deshaun Watson to be terrible.
Yeah, no,
but he can't. They can't. We're down a rabbit. I don't want to go down this rabbit hole right now. I don't want to go down this shit right now because it's too depressing and it's too fucking stupid that this guy's even exists in the National Football League anymore. Put his ass. Let him open up his own massage studio and get him the fuck out of here.
No, that's yeah. That's
get
the
this
last
dude
thing
out.
I'll
He
say
should-
is
yeah.
That's the last thing I want to say is they can't be this dumb 2 years in a row. They just can't be.
No,
but
let's go back to the positives.
But yeah, but what a
Browns,
game! Honestly, what a game! And when they needed to make plays, they did. And it was the energy that they played, like you said, with a purpose. Everybody was pumped. The swagger was back, right?
Yes.
And I think Nick Chubb had something to do with it for sure. Nick Chubb's slowly rounding into form again. Yeah, I mean these guys. It just, I don't know. It just feels like they're playing loose and having fun again. Like it felt like it did last year, and it felt good. It felt good. And come on, and seeing the snow out there, man. I know. I can't wait for the dome either. But man, oh man, what a scene it was too, just to see that.
Yeah, I've not changed my stance on the dome.
Yeah.
And by the way, I want to say maybe it was Stainbrook. Maybe it was our own Brad Stainbrook from the OBR. That I loved the tweet he put out. He's like, "Well, we're gonna let one snow game over the last like 10 years because these games don't happen like that."
No, they don't. They don't.
Everybody acts like they happen all the time. They don't. Games like that don't happen very often at all. So what? One snow game over the last 10 years, and we're gonna be like, "Well, you can't build the dome now." Fuck yes, we can. Hell yes, we can. Imagine being in the dome and it's a whole glass ceiling and you can see the snow falling, but you've got a short sleeve shirt on watching a football game inside. It's lovely. That sounds lovely to me. I'm so in for that.
We've had more. Oh God, what was it called? Like the sleet, rain, snow mix. Like we've had more. Grapple. We've had more grapple games the last few years than we've had snow games.
No, but it was cool. I think a couple things. One, the atmosphere was cool. It looked like Cleveland Brown Stadium was a snow globe. And shout out to the folks with Prime. Their camera work and the shots that they were getting was incredible. It was incredible, and it was fun. That was a ton of fun. I think also to hear the commentators, right, Michaels and Herb Street, and they actively a couple of times talked about how they had been in Cleveland for Steelers-Browns games in the past, where it felt like it was kind of a Pittsburgh takeover, just tons of terrible towels, and it felt like a ton of Steelers fans. I thought it was really cool to hear Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit say, like, it doesn't feel like that. Like, it is Brown. This is a Browns game. There are Steelers fans here, but it doesn't feel the way that it used to, where it was kind of a Steelers fan takeover. That gave me goosebumps. Like, I was like, all right, we got to win this game. Like, we got to win this game. And so I think the atmosphere was great. I think the fan base was great. And if you were at the game and you haven't gone back and watched it on Prime, on replay or whatever, please know that they raved about the Browns fans. I will always love Kirk Herbstreit. I think he's great. Al Michaels is a legend. They raved about the Browns fans staying there all game long. Like, nobody left that game.
Right.
The scenes were good, man. Vibes were high. Vibes were high.
Shout out to the shirtless, chunky dudes.
Oh, God. They were everywhere. What are these people doing? They look terrible. What are you doing?
That was awesome. That was pure awesome. It's another reason why dudes rock.
But again, Chad, I've asked it a couple times because we've had so many disappointments this year.
Sure.
So now we had that, right, Chad?
Yeah.
Now we had that. And it comes off the heels of just a horrific loss to the New Orleans Saints. Just horrific.
Yeah.
So how do the Browns build? I've asked this question, I think, every week. And I've asked, what does it matter? And maybe it doesn't for this year, but what does it matter? And what are we looking for now? Now that you've seen the way they handle business in that game, now what are we looking for every week?
I mean, well, you're just looking for more of the same. You're looking for pride. You're looking for guys having fun again. You're looking for watchable football, right? I mean, we know the talent that these guys have. We saw it all last year. We've seen it all the last couple of years. We know the talent on this team. You're just looking for it to just, I don't know, just regroup, just continue to regroup, just continue to play the way that you did. In the Baltimore game, in this Steelers game, you're just looking for more consistency. I think so. That's really all I'm looking for. As far as the scope of the season goes, no. I mean, I don't have any hopes or aspirations
No,
for the
and it's not
playoffs
about that.
anymore.
It's just what are we looking for?
Yeah, I would just like to see some consistency. Maybe maybe win a few more games going into next year, and that's really what I'm looking for. That's it. I mean, I'm not looking for anything special.
So Chad, I was going to go around the NFL this week a little bit, and I kind of looked at everything that happened around the NFL, but Chad, I think there's only one thing to say. As I kind of look around the NFL and what happened this week, and that is, I don't know that anything else matters. The Detroit Lions are winning the Super Bowl, right? Like that. Like,
so. Yeah, I think so. I hope so. I hope so. The Lions winning the Super Bowl would be amazing. I hope it's a Detroit and Buffalo Super Bowl.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
That would be the only shame that would be as me as a Browns fan is that I would want that to be Detroit and Cleveland.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like Detroit and Buffalo is a close second.
Would be amazing.
Oh, God. Oh, you just like that. The emotions got going there for a minute.
Yeah,
well, how cool would that be?
Right?
Two cities at either end of Lake Erie playing the Cross Lake Super Bowl. Man, that game should be played in Cleveland.
Yeah. They should make their own barge. They should make their own barge.
Build the dome.
Build the dome real quick. Trophy.
Quickly, build the dome.
Yeah, do it.
I just everything that went on this week, and I'm sitting here looking, going, yeah, all right. The Bucks kind of got back to form. Baker looked great in that game, but they played the Giants with the Tommy. The Giants are a more dysfunctional franchise than the Browns.
The only thing I like about the Giants is those Scarletta brothers on TikTok that go, "He's Italian. That Tommy Cutlets, he's back." That's what I want.
I'm like, should we talk about the Cowboys with a win? No, that doesn't matter. Neither one of those teams is going to do anything. I think it's weird that the Texans lost to the Titans, but again, it just shows me like,
well, that's just one of those games. We always talk about like these bad teams winning games they shouldn't. It's one or two every year, and that's the Titans win.
But I think the games that you have to talk about this week, I think that Sunday night game, the Eagles and the Rams. I mean, the Eagles dominated the Rams. That's Eagles look like they're back. I think the Packers destroying the 49ers. The 49ers, they're done, man. Like the 49ers, unless they have an opportunity to go on a run because they do have the talent to do it, but like, I don't know if I see it.
Yeah,
I don't know if I see it happening.
All the injuries they've sustained this year, and yeah, it all
just leads me. And again, the Baltimore Ravens are kind of whooping the Chargers now, so that game's going to end on Monday Night Football. The Ravens are going to beat the Chargers, but like again, it all just leads me to the Detroit Lions are winning the Super Bowl. Like I think I'm there. I think we might as well just can't call it now. Like
just crown them,
win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, crown them,
crown them, and let's be done with it.
Yeah, fine.
All right, last thing, Chad. The Cleveland Browns on Monday night. So Thursday Night Football to Monday Night Football. That's the longest possible break you can have in a 1 week span of games. Yeah. The Cleveland Browns are going out to Denver this week, and they are taking on a Denver Broncos team that beat the shit out of the Raiders this week, and a Denver Broncos team that has played better. It's a 7-5 football team. Bo Nix playing pretty well. Cortland Sutton has been really good for them. Did what's his face? Did the running back for the running back out of Notre Dame? What was his name?
Estime.
Yeah. Did he get going yet?
No, he did not. They he went by committee.
He played in the game, but like it's Bo Nix threw the ball 42 times in the game, and they beat up the Raiders. So the Browns are going out to Denver Monday Night Football. Let's talk about that game. How we feeling about the Browns and the Broncos on Monday Night Football?
This is a tough one because Denver is really, really good defensively. They have a very good defense, so they're going to be aggressive against the run. They blitz a ton. And I think they can get to Jameis, and I don't know. I'm expecting this to be a low scoring game. And if you're on the Browns side defensively, you have to get after Bo Nix. You cannot allow him to get into rhythm. You cannot allow him to get going like he has the last couple of games, because Bo Nix, the last couple of games, has been absolutely killing it. I mean,
Yeah, remember 2 weeks ago they beat the shit out of Atlanta.
Yeah, out of Atlanta, and he went for 307 and 4 touchdowns that week, and he didn't and so I don't know. He's been playing better as of late, so you have got to make him look like a rookie again. So otherwise, yeah, I don't know. I think this is, to me, everything about this screams low scoring to me. But we'll see. Jameis might be able to get going. I don't know, because again, this is a very aggressive Denver defense, and it's a very good Denver defense. So this has all the makings of like a I don't know, like a 19-16 game.
The thing that makes me nervous is the Browns feel like they only play well against the teams they're super familiar with.
Yeah.
It's like they only play well against these division. They played well against the division teams, right? They beat Baltimore. They beat Pittsburgh. They lost a close game to Cincinnati. It feels like they play well against these AFC North teams they're super familiar with, but Denver is one of those teams. I mean, the Browns have gotten smoked by pretty much everybody else.
Sure.
And Denver's one of those teams, they don't play a lot, and that makes me a little nervous about this game. I think the Browns can compete in this game. I think the Browns obviously riding high off of that victory. Jerry Jeudy emerging and wanting to show what he can do out in Denver. Like, obviously, Jerry Jeudy revenge game is certainly going to be on the minds there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know. To me, I don't think Denver's as good as their record suggests. I think the defense is really good. I don't think the offense is as good as the record says it is.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of with you, Chad. I in my head, I haven't made up whether I think the Browns can score enough points to win the football game.
Right.
But coming off the heels of this victory against the Pittsburgh Steelers, where you got Nick Chubb going a little bit, and you found a way to run the ball into again, it's 3 rushing touchdowns against the Steelers. 2 Nick Chubb touchdowns and 1 Jameis Winston touchdown.
Right.
But that's the way I think the Browns can win football games.
Right.
I feel like if Jameis is throwing for 2 or 3 touchdowns every game, I don't know. I don't want to say this is going to sound kind of stupid, but I don't know if that's the recipe. Right. But man, running the ball, getting the ball down there, grinding the clock, getting your offense some rest, getting your defense some rest, to me feels like the recipe. So if they can kind of keep getting things going, I think the offensive line looks like they're playing really well right now.
Sure.
I think I might go with like the same final score. I think I might go with like 24-19.
Yeah.
Browns over the Broncos.
Yeah. I think
we're just going to do it again.
I mean, I don't think either of these teams are good enough to be able to pull away from each other. So yeah, I think it's going to be close, man.
And you rely on Jameis, and
sure.
I'm okay. After, again, you brought up 4 before. After what we've dealt with 4, I'll just live and die with Jameis for the next 2 years. I'm fine with it.
Sling it.
I'm perfectly fine with Jameis throwing 5 picks in a game and us losing by like 30 points. It's way better than what we were watching with Jameis Winston. Or I'm sorry, with Deshaun Watson.
It's the same thing with Flacco. Like, say what you will, but like you just lived with the results. That's what you do with a gunslinger. It's you live with the results. He's going to let go of the football, whether the guy's open or not. He's going to throw it to a spot. If it's picked, it's picked. If it's complete, it's complete. He's just going to be throw to his spots, and you live with the good and the bad.
Gunslinger, good. Unwanted dick slinger, bad. We do not. Let's get that dude out of here. Forever. Let's get him out of here forever. All right. Did you give a final score prediction?
Yeah, 19-16.
Okay. All right. All right, Chad, I do want to get a couple quick hitters, and then I want to do a little draft. I want to do a little draft with you because I got in the mood. So let's start with let's go over to the Cavaliers.
Okay.
Because since we talked last, which actually the game happened last Tuesday, the Cavs took their last loss last Tuesday, or their first loss, I should say, last Tuesday against the Boston Celtics.
Yeah.
In a really hard-fought, good game in Boston, right? Like, it lived up to the billing.
Yeah.
And Boston lived up to the world title champions that they are.
Sure.
But I was nervous. Chad, I've said it all season long. Since the Cavaliers went on that 15-game winning streak,
right?
I was nervous about what would happen to the Cavaliers after the first loss.
Sure.
Not that I thought they were going to go on a 10-game losing streak, but I was a little nervous that maybe the intensity would wind down when they weren't playing for the streak anymore.
Right.
And maybe it was time to like, all right, rest and not play with that kind of intensity and physical nature and whatever.
Yeah.
And well, I was wrong because the Cavaliers have started a new winning streak. Now they've only played 2 games since then, which is great. The Cavaliers haven't had this many days off. I talked to Tim Alcorn, the radio voice of the Cavs, and he was like, I haven't had this many days off since the offseason. This is great. The Cavaliers went from Wednesday to Sunday
right
between games, which is desperately needed. But they come out and they beat the Pelicans in what I was ready to call the Ty Jerome game, Chad, because Ty Jerome scored 27 points in the second quarter of that game against the Pelicans. And then last night, or I guess if you're watching this, it was 2 nights ago, Sunday night, the Cavaliers come out and they win again. And again, Ty Jerome goes for like 26 points in that game. And so the Cavaliers are just, now they're on to 2 straight wins. They are 17-1 on the season. And at what point are we, like, Chad, should we be there already? Should Cavs fans be there already? And what I mean by that is we're not really waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like, this is the Cavs. They're just this good.
Yeah. It's reaching that point. I don't know if it's quite there yet, but it's reaching that point. Are they going to win every game from here on out? Are they going to go 81-1? No, not at all. But yeah, it's time to kind of get with this team, right? Because the way you bounce back, right? Typically, if you're trying to bounce back from a loss, that can be a hard fought, game. But I mean, they've won their last 2 games with ease. Right. And they just kind of picked up right where they left off offensively and defensively. And it's just, it's almost like Boston never happened. Right. They brushed it off and they came back and Ty Jerome in a game where against the Pelicans, a banged up Pelicans team where you needed to step up because your stars weren't going to play heavy minutes after that Boston game.
Yeah. They didn't play hardly any minutes.
It did. And it just showed how deep this Cavalier team is. So,
you know what the best part about that is? Ty Jerome didn't, like, you needed a guy like Ty Jerome to step up because you knew you wanted to get Evan Mobley rest and Jared Allen. And Darius Garland didn't even play in that game. And Donovan Mitchell rest. And not only that, but Ty Jerome did enough in the first half of that game that he got rest.
Yeah.
That's the best part of that game.
That is the best part, for sure. Yeah.
There were two great parts of that Pelicans game, Chad. Yeah. Ty Jerome, obviously, what he did in that second quarter was so much fun.
Right.
It reminded me of, remember the heat checks with LeBron where he would just pull up from midcourt and just drain 3-pointers because he was feeling it? Yeah. That's what Ty Jerome was doing.
Right. I know.
But also, I love that Kenny Atkinson said, fuck it. We're going to get these dudes some rest, which means Jalen Tyson is going to start this game.
Yeah.
And what does Jalen Tyson do? He damn near triple doubles.
Right.
What do you do? 16 points, like 11 rebounds and 7 assists.
Something to that. Yeah. He didn't get your first 20 points, but
your first round pick in a couple of years because of the Donovan Mitchell trade. And this dude comes out and damn near triple doubles in a game.
Yeah.
Like the depth is there. Luke Travers looks like a guy that can come out and just give you some minutes if you need him. Like,
yeah,
the depth is there, but it's not just that. It's that everybody, this is my favorite part about the Cavs this year, Chad. Everybody seems to understand the roles that they are being asked to play. And they seem to understand that when they are on the court, they're not just out there to fill space. They're not just out there to be some kind of like secondary player. Everybody has a role. Everybody has a purpose, and they come out and play with it. And I think that's what was displayed by that Jalen Tyson outing against the Pelicans was he came out ready to play. He was shooting the ball early in the shot clock. He was aggressive defensively. He was aggressive getting to the hoop. Like, everybody understands that when I'm on the court, I'm not out here to be a second tier player. I'm out here to be a Cleveland Cavalier.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, and that's like it with any sport. If you can, if a guy can accept his role, get his role clearly defined and accept it, that's a team buying in, and this team is completely bought in, and it just goes to show with the success that the Cavs have had.
So yeah, the Cavaliers, I think still have a couple days, right? I think they've got like they're playing the least amount of games over like a 1 week stretch they've played all season. They don't play Tuesday. They do play Wednesday. So they got back-to-backs. They have the Hawks on Wednesday night in Cleveland, where, by the way, the Cavs are 10-0 at home this year. And then they go to Atlanta on Friday, and they play the Hawks. So back-to-backs with the Hawks. They haven't seen the Hawks yet this year, but not a great Hawks team. So hopefully they can just keep it going. Chad, I want to bounce over to the NHL.
Sure.
Because we have this Blue Jackets team that went on this disastrous run to the West Coast. And then they have bounced back really nicely.
Yeah.
The Blue Jackets are playing really good hockey right now, Chad.
Really fun hockey. I mean,
yes.
I don't even know if that's good, but they're playing really fun hockey. I mean, again, you talked about roles for the Cavs, right? You talked about everybody talking the roles. Everybody has been buying in to Dean Evison in the system that he has put into place. They're buying what he's selling, and it just goes to show, because this offensive onslaught these last two games against playoff teams, by the way, Mike, 7 of their 9 wins this year have come against playoff teams. So they seem to just they seem to give a little extra anytime they know they got to have an elite opponent coming in, but they're scoring in bunches in a lot of the games this year, Mike. And that's just something we haven't seen, right? How many times have we seen that, the Jackets either go up big and then lose it, right? Or they get down by 3 goals and that's just the end of it. They can't score after that. No, this team is responding. This team is aggressive. This team is out shooting teams. This team is aggressive on the forecheck. This team is doing everything that they haven't done the last couple of years. You just haven't seen that, right? A team like Carolina or a team like Tampa Bay, where they went down 3-1 after the first period, and it was 5.
It was 3-0.
Yeah, it was 5-5 after the second. Like, it's just those are things you just haven't seen. So the fight that this team has, it's a growing team. Like, I think that's the thing is I'm coming to grips with, right? Like, how many times we talk about learning experiences, but this is the first year in the last 3 years that you really see true growth in this team, and it's paying off right now. Are they Stanley Cup contenders? No. If they keep playing like this, could they possibly sneak into the wild card? Maybe. But this team, if they keep winning and losing games like this team is going to be so much fun to watch, and it's still fun to watch.
Maybe it's just the Columbus effect. I don't remember what the site was, but they put out like NHL team playoff chances.
Yeah.
And right now they had the Blue Jackets as the second lowest chance to make the playoffs. It was the Sharks at 0%.
Yeah.
And the Blue Jackets are like 0.4% to make the playoffs. And I'm sitting there. But then I looked at the teams that were under the Blue Jackets in the standings right now, like the Islanders or whatever. And there were like 2 teams under the Jackets in the playoffs right now that had like a 30% chance to make the playoffs.
Yeah, what the hell? Come on.
What? And listen, I think a lot of it has to go to the Dean Evison effect, the brand new coach who
100%,
came in at a crazy time and had to help this team navigate a tragic offseason, but also had to instill a toughness in this team that they didn't have before.
Right.
And what a fine line that guy had to walk, Chad, right? Like
1,000%.
You had to be sympathetic towards your players because they were going through something again.
Right.
But you also had to toughen their asses up.
Right.
Like, that's a hard. Think about the line that guy had to walk, Chad. Think about the line of coming in, the Johnny Gaudreau situation, and he passes away, and this has not been a tough hockey team, and you have to walk that line between being there for your guys and being family, and also making them tougher than they've been. Like, I don't know how you approach that, and I don't know how he did it, but like, mission accomplished so far on this season, Chad.
Yeah, seriously, it's
I don't have an explanation for how he did it. It's like it's beyond explanation.
Yeah, no, I agree, and it was teams can get, and that just goes to show you, I think, how important a coach is from a motivation standpoint, especially in the NHL, because like we've talked about it before, systems don't change much in the NHL, so
Right.
it's really about a coach getting guys to buy into what they're selling. And this team, this is a talented young Blue Jackets team, right? We know the skill is there. We know it just needs to be cultivated. It needs to be developed. And it needs a guy, and it needed a guy with experience in that department. It needed a guy who can turn teams around, who knows how to turn teams around. And that's exactly what Dean Evison brings. That's exactly what he brought, and it's showing. It is showing because these guys are playing better than they ever have in the 3 years.
So 2 last things I want to talk about with the Blue Jackets. Should we have talked about Dante Fabro more? Like, I feel like we should have talked about this dude more because it feels like he's emerging. It feels like he's emerging as a leader on this team.
He is emerging as a leader on this team, but he is. I don't know if we should have talked about him more. I'll say that. I don't know if we should have talked about him more because he was not having a good year. He stunk with Nashville. He was we didn't know really what we were getting when we picked him up. But yeah, as far as what we got is an emerging leader in the locker room for sure.
An instant leader. Like we didn't even. I get what you're saying, Chad, and you're not wrong. There was nothing about what the guy's done recently in Nashville to make you feel like, oh, you're getting anything good.
Right.
But it's a guy that, like, it seems like he walked into that locker room and was like, it feels like a guy that walked in there and was like, all right, boys. You know what I mean? Like one of those kind of guys.
Yeah, yeah.
And it sounds like they listened to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's a voice in the media. He's a guy that maybe takes a little bit of that pressure off of other guys.
Yeah.
Where he's like, yeah, I'll go do that interview. I'll go do that. That matters in pro sports where you have those guys that will take that pressure off of some guys that maybe don't want to do that so much.
Yeah.
Well, but he's also been good on the ice. He's been good out there. What is going on with this dude?
His first ever end-to-end goal. Yeah, I mean, he's kind of taken that good Branson role. Not the physicality part, but from the leadership standpoint. Yeah. So he's out there. He's being the face of this organization.
So, Chad, the last thing I want to talk about with the Blue Jackets before we go to our last segment, lots of trade rumors around David Jiricek, and I'm confused. This was your top draft pick last year.
Well, a couple years ago.
Or I'm sorry, 2 years ago. 2 years ago.
Yeah. It's
this is a top 5, top end. I think it was he the number 1 defenseman drafted in that draft?
I think so. I think, but don't hold me to that. Because there's
what's happening here. What's happening? I don't like it. I don't like it. What's happening?
Yeah, I know. It's because reports have been swirling ever since last year that he's just not happy with the way they're handling his development. Right? He feels like he should be up in the NHL now. He feels like he should be a stalwart, second pairing, third pairing defenseman on the Blue Jackets right now. And they just keep messing with him, he feels. They keep messing with him. He's up, he's down, he's up, he's down. He's like Sybil. He's up, he's down, he's up, he's down. He has no idea.
So why isn't he up full time? Because I understand, like, a couple years in on a team that's young and developing, and why isn't this dude up?
The thing is, I think the biggest thing is his physicality. I think he's not used. I think he's still sort of getting used to the American game. He's just they're just not where he wants to be. He's just not where they want him to be from a developmental standpoint. I mean, and anybody doesn't know, the ice over in Europe is a lot wider. It's more of a finesse game over there. The American hockey game is a lot tighter. Again, you got to be a lot more physical. You got to be a lot more aggressive. He's got the skill. He's got all the skill in the world offensively. I think they just feel like he needs to develop more. He needs to round out his game more. Yeah, and Yarmo saw it, and so does Don Waddell, obviously, for sending him back down.
I was going to say, it was apparent that Yarmo saw that he needed that development time. Don Waddell sees it. Pascal Vincent saw it.
Yeah.
Now it's clear. It's clear that the new coaching staff sees it.
Right.
But I think on the other end of it, like, I don't want the Blue Jackets to give up on a dude that's 2 years into his NHL/AHL career, and a dude that they drafted super high because of the potential of him.
Right.
I don't want this dude getting sent away.
No.
So what do they got to do? What do they got to do to get this guy more involved?
God, you know what? I don't know. because the Jackets, another thing that the Jackets have is a stockpile of defensemen, especially young defensemen, right now. So I don't know. I don't know what.
But Chad, shouldn't he be among the best of those?
He should be. But I don't know. I don't think they feel they know exactly really what to do with him yet. I just, so for now, go to the AHL, get some more development. I mean, the Monsters are a great hockey team as well. The Monsters have won 8 in a row right now. So, yeah. So it's, I think for now, I think that's the plan. I don't know that necessarily that they're going to give up on him, because Don Waddell is an incredible talent evaluator. So if he feels like that there's the potential there for him to be, again, a second pairing, a third pairing, maybe even a top pairing in the coming years, he's not going to give up on him. But it's Jiricek being frustrated, though, is a whole different story.
Well, I hope they get it sorted, because when you take a dude, a top 5 dude, when you take the top defenseman off the board, much like Adam Fantilli, much like oh God, what's the name of the dude they drafted this year?
Caden Lindstrom.
Yes, much like Lindstrom, much like Zach Johnson, who's been so good this year. Oh, he's here, man.
Yeah, we're making that leap. We're making
the arrival is here
with Kent Johnson.
But when you're drafting these guys as a team like the Blue Jackets, they gotta hit. They gotta hit.
Yep.
You cannot trade Jiricek year 2. You can't trade him year 2 unless you're like, we know for sure he's not going to make it.
Yeah. And Don's smart. I mean, he knows that too. So
I would rather have them run him into the ground for 4 years than trade him in year 2.
100%.
Or year 3 or whatever.
I agree with that.
So anyways, the Jackets showing great signs of life. And I like what I've seen out of them. I like the fight that I've seen out of them, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun way to end or to go into the rest of this NHL season. So, Chad, should we do the last segment, or are you ready for bed?
No, yeah, we'll do the last segment.
Right, last segment. All right. So I told you this was going to play in, so I'm going to tie it all back together. Boom. Call back. I told you at the beginning of the show I went and saw Wicked. And I told you part of the only thing I don't like about the Wicked story, because I loved everything else about it. I laughed and I cried and everything in between. And Chad, I think you're going to do the same thing. And God damn it, the last part of the movie is unbelievable. It is unbelievable. But it's the story of one of the great villains in movie history. And so I thought, why don't we end this draft this week why don't we end the show this week by doing a draft of the great movie villains in movie history.
Yeah. All right.
All movie villains, all movie history, but it's got to be movies, not TV.
Okay. All right.
And so, Chad,
you just want to go back and forth. No snake. You just want to go back and forth.
Yeah, it's just going to be back and forth.
Sure.
5 rounds.
Okay.
Back and forth.
Okay.
Best movie villains in history.
Okay. All right.
And Chad, I flipped my little virtual coin before we did the show, and you got the first pick.
Sweet. Yeah. 1-1. Heath Ledger, Joker.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah, 1,000%. That's. I don't know how you could justify anything more.
Easy. That's so good, isn't it? Like,
It's so like I cannot. It is one of the very few movie villains that I've ever watched that have made me physically uncomfortable, like that have actually given me the heebie-jeebies, right?
yeah.
So Heath Ledger.
Yeah, and to take a character that was played by, all the way back to the Adam West days, and Mark Hamill plays him in the cartoons, and Jack Nicholson's version of the Joker is amazing.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
to take a character that was played in so many great ways, so many times, and to just be like, nah, this guy's mine.
Right.
Like that's the best thing about what Heath Ledger did was like, he was like, you guys did amazing stuff, but this is mine.
Yeah.
This is mine.
Right.
And he took it. Yeah.
And he just unfortunately it killed him. But
yeah.
But the psychology, the where he went in his mind to be able to get into that character was unbelievable.
I'm gonna go chalk with my first pick.
Okay.
Because I do think it's the best villain in the history of movies. And I think it's Darth Vader.
Okay.
And to be honest with you, I think, a lot of Star Wars fans really passionately, at least at first, I think it's softened over time, to be honest with you.
Okay.
But I think they hated when they came out with episodes 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
And I think a lot of people really didn't like those because of characters like ancillary Jar Jar Binks kind of bullshit. Sure. But I do think the storyline of Anakin Skywalker as a little boy and then growing up a little bit and then growing into a young man and the conflict of good and evil and what should I do and how should I go about this and watching over 3 episodes the tug of the dark side eventually get to him.
Yeah.
When they do that first scene of Darth Vader, it's iconic. It is iconic. It's goosebumps inducing. I think he's the best movie villain of all time. So I'm going with Darth Vader.
Nice. Perfect. My second pick, I'm going with Shooter McGavin.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, Shooter McGavin. I don't care. He's right up there for me. I know it's not going to be people's top picks of movie villains, but he's my favorite villain of all time. Hey. Like there's
Shooter.
There's obviously much better villains in movies of all time, but I love him so much because of how big of a dick he is.
Oh yeah.
Oh, well, I didn't get a chance to see him play. I was too busy winning.
Oh,
wait, how did he finish? Dead last? Oh yeah, he had a good day though. You know that
Happy Gilmore attempted that feat no more than an hour ago. Oh yeah, how'd he finish?
You know that room at the top of the stairs, the bedroom at the top of the stairs? Yeah, that was my room. I think I'm gonna make that into my trophy room.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah,
he's great. Listen, I agree with you. Comedy villains are great, and Shooter McGavin's great.
Yes.
Oh, you're frozen. Why are you frozen?
I don't know. I'm back.
All right, so I'm going to go with a movie that I love that I could watch over and over and over and over again. Were you a fan of No Country for Old Men?
Oh yeah, wow! I haven't thought about that movie in years, but I loved that movie.
I loved that movie.
Hell yes.
Anton from No Country for Old Men. Javier Bardem's character, man, walking around with that fucking. Only because I'm not a fucking cowboy, I don't know what that actual nail gun thing is called.
It's a nail gun.
It is, but it's like it's used to like put down cows so they can kill them for beef and shit.
Right.
I don't know what the name of the goddamn thing is called.
Right.
But the fact that that's what he uses, and like just the scenes of him like busting through doors and like just firing that shit off left and right, like Anton from No Country for Old Men. I'm very happy to have that.
All right.
I'm thrilled. I love that.
All right. My next pick is another one, and not only it's one of my favorite villains, but it's I think this guy can be up there as one of the top villains of all time. Hans Gruber.
Oh, so good.
I'm going to count to 3. There will not be a 4. Shoot the glass. Yeah, no, it's just one of your classic Die Hard movies. It's just taking over Nakatomi Towers. I mean,
yep.
Yeah. Hans, Bubby, I'm your white knight. Yeah.
Yeah. And, listen, very appropriate for this time of the year.
For sure.
Christmas movie style. That's him falling off the building, just iconic.
Yeah.
And shout out to Alan Rickman, man. Alan Rickman, he could have played a villain every movie, and it would have been fine.
And it would have been perfect.
All-time great.
It would have been perfect.
Yep. That's a great one.
I give you the FBI.
All right, so for me, I went Darth Vader. I went Anton from No Country for Old Men. I feel like those are a little chalky.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make it a little bit more obscure on this next one. But God damn it, if this isn't one of those villains that I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it, Chad. And if you're familiar with the movie, you're going to go, oh, fuck. Yes, this guy. I'm going to go with Cullen Crisp. Cullen Crisp was the bad guy in Kindergarten Cop.
Oh.
God damn it. Tell me that isn't an all-time great bad guy.
Yeah.
His slick back ponytail. They're in like the showers and he's like got his kid held hostage. Just in all he travels around with his mom.
Oh God. Yeah.
An all-time fucking bad guy.
Yeah, 100%.
Cullen Crisp, I'm sorry, man. We could talk about, I won't spoil anything. We could talk about some like the biggest bad guys of all time.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, if you're old enough and you're watching this and you remember Kindergarten Cop, I'm going to say Cullen Crisp. And I'm going to say the bad guy from Kindergarten Cop, and you're going to go, fuck yes. That
fucking
that
guy. Yeah.
Right? Am I wrong?
100%.
Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. No, that guy was creepy.
Not just creepy, but just a great bad guy.
Yeah,
that guy's career, I don't even know what the actor's name is, like Richard Taylor or something like that.
Yeah.
That guy should have been
old Dick Taylor.
That guy should have been the bad guy in like 100 more movies.
Yeah.
He was perfect for that.
Right.
Amazing. So I'm going with that.
All right. Well, my 4th pick, in keeping with your Darth Vader theme, Mike, make way for Dark Helmet. All rise in the presence of Dark Helmet.
Yes. I'm surrounded by assholes.
No, sir. I didn't see you playing with your dolls again. Good. Yeah.
That's great.
Dark Helmet. Just your classic comedy movie villain. Obviously, just a dope. Rick Moranis does an amazing job.
Oh, he's so good. So good at it. Rick Moranis.
Yeah. He was my guy.
Yes. I love that, Chad. That is, I think it's the best comedy movie villain of all time.
Yeah. Right.
I think you just got the number one comedy movie villain.
We got to go right to ludicrous speed.
Yeah. All right. So for my next one, I do feel like sometimes a villain is the person you have to hate the most.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to go to Harry Potter. I'm a big Harry Potter guy. I love Harry Potter.
Okay.
I love all the Harry Potter movies. I think they just got better as they went along.
Yeah.
And I think you're supposed to hate Voldemort.
Okay. Yeah.
He's a great villain. I think Voldemort's a great villain, by the way. I think he's a great villain.
Yeah.
I think you're supposed to hate Voldemort. I think he's supposed to be the scariest part of the show, and everything revolves around him, right?
Sure.
But I think there's other characters that are meant to play villains, and you've got like Severus Snape, which Alan
Yeah.
Rickman again, and you got some of these other guys. But God damn it, if that little blonde shit face is not just one of the great movie villains of all time.
Little
And
blonde
I don't know
shit
why I'm
face.
blanking on his name. What the hell is the little blonde kid from Harry Potter? Draco Malfoy.
Okay. All right.
Draco Malfoy. I want to punch a 12-year-old every time I watch the goddamn movie. He's so good. You know what he is? We can't use it because it's a TV show, but Joffrey Baratheon from Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Okay.
That is Draco Malfoy from Harry
Yeah.
Potter. He's the little snot-nosed motherfucker that is like powerful enough for you to hate him.
Yeah,
and powerful enough for him to like stick around the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I do just deeply, I loathe him. And so I'm going with Draco Malfoy on my list of movie villains.
All right. Fair enough.
All right. So is this your last one?
Yeah. Last one.
So let's break it down. Who have you taken so far?
I've taken Heath Ledger, the Joker, Heath Ledger's Joker, Shooter McGavin, Hans Gruber, and Dark Helmet.
Oh, Joker, Shooter, Helmet, and
Hans Gruber. And my fifth pick is a chalky one, but he was just another one that just made me physically uncomfortable and creeped out. Like I said, again, a bit chalky, but Hannibal Lecter.
Ooh, yeah. Oh.
Hannibal Lecter, Anthony Edwards, Hannibal Lecter. When they had those close-ups on his face, it made me feel like he was going to go through the screen and just grab me by my neck and strangle me, dude. He'd scare. I actually had nightmares about that guy the first time I watched that movie. But yeah, Hannibal Lecter, crazy fucking good villain. Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, that's a really good one. I mean, you can't go wrong with that. And listen, we're going to do an honorable mention, and it's going to be great. Yeah. The honorable mention, you could probably win this draft with the honorable mentions. I don't love that I don't have a comedy one, really.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to go with my favorite comedy one. I don't know that these movies are going to withstand the test of time.
Yeah.
But God damn it, when they were new, they were all-time greats. I'm going with Dr. Evil.
Okay. All right.
From the Austin Powers movies.
Okay.
Does it make sense what I said there, Chad? Like, I think over time that movie's going to just be stupider and stupider.
Yeah.
But remember when those things were first coming out? It was like you had to go see them in the theater.
Yeah, for sure.
Dr. Evil launches a fucking rocket ship that looks like a dick. and they run entire scenes that are like, that looks like two balls and one strike. And like just some of the best comedy villainry of all time.
Yeah.
Zip It. I mean, Zip It became a part of culture.
Yeah.
Like it was like the Bud Light Waza commercials.
Yeah, right.
Zip It. I remember being a kid and we were all like, zip it.
Zip it.
Zip it. Zip it and do that. Zip it and do that.
Big bag of shh.
Zip it.
Big bag of shh.
And then they introduced Mini-Me, and then that's funny as hell.
Shh. Even before you start. Shh.
I think Dr. Evil, Wayne Campbell is Mike Myers' best character of all time.
Yeah, for sure.
I think Dr. Evil is number 2.
Yeah.
I mean, just unbelievable.
All right.
So that's the movie villain draft, but let's talk about a little honorable mention.
Oh, Jesus.
Because there are some
rattle them off, dude. I rattle them off. Beetlejuice, T-1000.
Beetlejuice? No, don't rattle off just any villain.
What?
I'm just saying, don't okay. There's some
Palpatine.
All right, so for me on the comedy one, I was down between Dr. Evil and one other comedy villain.
Okay.
And God damn it was hard to pick. But Judge Smails from Caddyshack
Yeah, of course.
I
Fuck,
mean, so good.
of course.
So good.
By Bushwood socks.
Tony Perkis. Okay, first of all,
Yeah, White Goodman.
Ben Stiller in a couple of movies. Tony Perkis from Heavyweights and White Goodman from Dodgeball.
Yeah.
Incredible movie villains.
Yeah, 100%. Lex Grossman from Tropic Thunder. Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise. The only time Tom Cruise was ever a villain in Tropic Thunder. It was amazing.
You think about who were the villains in your favorite movies, right? So I think about my favorite movie of all time is always Field of Dreams.
Yeah.
The redheaded brother-in-law.
Yeah.
So it's like, we're gonna take your farm. We're gonna take your farm, Ray. The bank's gonna foreclose, Ray. You piece of shit. I hate that guy. He's a great villain, but it's only because it's my favorite movie of all time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who's the best villain in your favorite movie of all time?
Well, my favorite movie of all time is Usual Suspects, so Kaiser Sose.
Oh, Kaiser Sose is great.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah. That's the
makes me
first
feel
movie
bad
that
my favorite movie of all time is Field of Dreams. That makes me feel
Yeah.
Does the redheaded guy from Field of Dreams stack up to Kaiser Sose?
No, because he never convinced the world that he didn't exist. Yeah.
But then you got to go to. I kind of intentionally left this off, but you kind of have to go to like, Chad. Who's the best Disney villain of all time?
Ooh, man,
because you have to. Disney has made a living on villains.
Man, that's so hard to pick. I mean, you got Hades, you got Jafar, you got
maybe Jafar. Jafar was rapey, man. That's a bad villain.
Yeah, man.
Gaston,
yeah.
Ursula, Maleficent.
Yeah.
Scar. Maybe Scar. Scar might be the best Disney villain of all time.
Yeah.
Dude straight murders his brother.
There was so
fucking
there was so
murder.
many good ones. Yeah.
How about this? If we're sticking on Disney, we skipped one. Maybe this guy should have been drafted. Maybe this guy should. I kind of feel bad about not drafting this. Thanos. Dude snapped his fingers and killed half the people that ever lived. Just gone.
That's a pretty good villain.
That's a good ass villain.
That's a pretty good villain. Yeah.
That's a good ass villain.
Yeah.
And then I do want to give a shout out. The inspiration to this, and then we're gonna get out of here. The inspiration to this was the Wicked Witch of the West.
Yeah, for sure.
She should have been drafted. I didn't draft her because I've already brought her up. But when it comes to maybe like original, is she original? Is she the original villain? What year did that movie come out? 1939?
1939, yeah. She could be.
And she withstands the test of time.
Yeah.
To the point where we are all now going to watch this other movie about her.
Right.
It might make her the best villain of all time.
I mean, you can make a case for sure.
You can make a case. All right, Chad. Last order of business before we get out of here. 3 cheers of the week. We're only going to have 2 because Joey's not here. But give me your cheer of the week. Who do you got?
My cheer goes to Kansas football. I know that's a weird cheer. Yeah. Might be a weird cheer, but we witnessed, if you watch the game, you witnessed history. Kansas became the first FBS program in college football history, and there's been a long history, so that doesn't happen very often anymore, to beat 3 straight ranked teams after having a losing record. So what a time. I enjoyed watching them beat Colorado. I loved watching them beat Colorado. So yeah, congrats to the Jayhawks, man. Rock, Tuck, Jayhawk,
I'm gonna give my shout out. And I can't even tell you who it is, but I'm going to tell you, if you're a West Side Cleveland person, you got to get familiar because we have become familiar over the last 3 years with the greatest Christmas tree farm of all time. We actually used to come out to like Chesterland to like buy Christmas trees, and you have to like cut them down yourself, and then you load them up and you go. But it's also like $500 to buy a Christmas tree, which is outrageous. So out here on the west side of Cleveland, on Gore Orphanage Road, there's a winery called Vermilion Valley Winery. Really cool place, by the way. If you haven't checked it out, you should go check it out. No free ads, but I'll give them a free ad. Go check it out. Right next door, Chad, right next door.
Uh-huh.
And I'm a live tree guy. We don't have a fake tree. I like live trees.
Right.
But we also have 20-foot ceilings in the living room. So we got to get a big ass tree. So we found it is what it is. It's not a brag. We just have a tall ceiling. There's nothing braggy about that.
Not a big deal.
We found this guy next to this winery. He doesn't have signage that's like, hey, come to my house and buy Christmas trees. There's nothing online about it. You just have to know about it. It's like the goddamn it's like a speakeasy of goddamn Christmas trees.
Mm-hmm.
And you pull into this dude's driveway, and he's got a whole damn tree farm in the backyard, and every tree is $25.
No shit.
$25. And you don't have to do any of the work. You just go tell him what tree you want. He goes and cuts that thing down. He loads it onto your car for you, and you just drive it home. You do literally nothing. $25. I think we just went and bought like a 15-foot tree. $25 and brought it home. It is maybe I shouldn't be calling out the best kept secret for Christmas trees in all of Cleveland. But on the west side of Cleveland here, this dude, he's not here to make money. He just has the best time with it ever. He puts Patrick on the tractor and he drives him back, and the two of them cut down the tree and they bring it back. So I'm giving that guy a shout out of Gore Orphanage Road. Vermilion Valley Wineries. It's right next door to it. If you're looking for a Christmas tree, maybe check this dude out. But you gotta just pull into the driveway and trust that you're in the right place.
Okay,
which is great. All right, Chad. Let's get out of here for episode number 240. Man, 240 is in the books. We are almost 1/4 of 1,000 episodes into this podcast, and this one was fun. I do want to give one more cheers out. Just to all of you guys, everybody that joins us. We do this every year, and it's Thanksgiving week. So here on the Garage Beers podcast, we want to make it sure it is very clear to all of you that we are very thankful for all of you. Everybody that joins us every week, everybody that listens to us, watches us live, hangs out with us, supports us online, just all our goofy shit that we do. The fact that we do it and you hang out with us makes us very, very thankful. So shout out to all of you for joining us and being a part of this process. Chad, what do you got?
No, I was just going to say, we are thankful for everybody, and have a great Thanksgiving.
Have a great Thanksgiving. Eat lots of turkey, eat lots of stuffing, potatoes, and vegetables, and the cranberry sauce. I love the canned cranberry sauce. Get after that. Pumpkin pie and all the above. We hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving. We hope you watch a lot of football, hang out with family, and have a great time. That's going to do it for episode 240 of the Garage Beers podcast. For Joey Whalen, who wasn't here at Garage Beers Joe, for Chad Meyer at Garage Beers Chad, I am Michael Keefe at Garage Beers Mike. Make sure you follow the show at The Garage Beers on all the socials. And until next week for episode 241, we appreciate you. We're thankful for you. And cheers, everybody.